Hello, my name is Guillaume. I'm a Canadian pension actuary and the author of the Actuarial Excel Addin. The Actuarial Excel Addin adds functionalities to Excel workbooks to perform simple and complex actuarial valuation of pension plans and pension plan administration tasks like calculation of benefits, preparation of benefit statements, and preparation of annual statements. Since 2005, the add-in has been used by actuaries and pension plan administrators. Trial of the actual Excel add-in is available for free at the address appearing on screen. Welcome to this video, part of a growing series of tutorials. So let's turn off the camera and start the tutorial. I hope to see you there. Let me explain how to add a mortality table to be used by the Actuarial Excel add-in. So you first open Excel and you see that if you click on the unhide button, there's three files in the background that have been opened by the Actuarial Excel add-in, the Obank QX, Stat, and Stocks. Mortality tables will be in the Obank QX, so you open that file. And if we move, there's a lot of worksheet, but all the mortality table are in the QX worksheet. The other worksheets are for projection scales. Because of their size, each scale is kept in a separate worksheet. If I go to the mortality table worksheet, there's a lot of mortality table in there. They all go from age 0 to age 120, irrespective of the actual range from the original mortality table you are inputting. If rates are not available, like if we look at the GAM 71, for example, rates are available up to age 112. So the other mortality rates have been filled, to 1 or 100%, in fact, for the years 113 to 120. And the same at the beginning. If rate starts at if rates do not start at 0, I fill the first rates with 0, and I normally will highlight it in yellow just to show that these rates does not come from the original table but have been added. So if I look at the GAM 71, for example, from range 0 to 120, if I highlight the range, you'll see here that that range has been named GAM 71Q1 for mortality for male. And if I look at the row on its right, the female rate. So if I highlight the range from 0 to 120, you have the name GAM 71Q2. So GAM 71 is really the name of the table as you would refer to it in the Actuarial Excel Addin function, or LX most of the time. And Q2 is just added to distinguish between male mortality and female mortality. So if I want to add a table, I will just go to the right end or far right of the worksheet, QX worksheet, and I would add new columns. For example, I would just for the purpose of the illustration, let's say I add the USA 19 table, which is not available as far as I know today, but I will just fill with, let's say I assume that it's 95% of, it's not important here. It's just you would, in fact, enter your actual rate. But for the illustration, I'm just filling it with anything. So next step, so I decided that the name of the table would be USA 19. So I would select the range from 0 to 120 for the male first. And I will go in that cell and name that cell, or that range, in fact, USA 19Q1. I will do the same for the female. Name that range USA 19Q2. And that's all there is to it. So, well, no, that's not all there is to it. You have to save the file. So, if I try to save the file, you'll see that I can't because it's a read-only file. So, what I will do, I will rename it. Let's say, oh, well, and save it. And then I will, when I close Excel, I'll close Excel, go to my files, Actuarial Addin data directory. So I have a lot of files here, but Obank QX new, the file I've just created, is here, and I have the prior file. So I would have, let's say, I will rename it. I will rename my original file with another name. Let's say old, and the new I will rename it also. I remove the new. In fact, I'll just name it Obank QX. And if I go back to Excel, if I go to my OpenQX workbook, I'll find my QX worksheet, and my USA 19 table that I just added is here and would be available to use. Like if I if I use it in a TQX, for example, for a person age 55, with my LX for a male, and USA 19, I have 0.7378 for age 55. If I look at my 55, 0.7378. So that's it. So that's all there is to it. Now, if you want to add a projection scale, it's uh, it's similar in principle, but more steps involved. So you first go to the QX worksheet, and if you go down below the mortality table, you have the projection scale. So the first step is to, if I would add, let's say I would add a scale name ECH, and it must start with ECH. It stands for échelle in French, which is the equivalent of scale. So ECH underscore, I'll name it MP 2020. Example, I have two information to enter here. The start year of my, assuming it's a 2D mortal projection scale, so I have to add 2 years. The starting year, let's say my scale start at 950 and it ends at 201. Let's say make it not too long. 20, 30, for example. So that would be my range for my projection scale. These two cells have to be named individually. If I look at for example, the ECH MP 2018, 1951, that's a variable or a range name ECH MP 2018 start, and the other 2034 is ECH MP 18 end. So I have to do the same with my new scale. So I will name these variable ECH underscore MP 2020 start, and the other one, as you would figure out, end. So it's ECH underscore MP 2020 end. And next step, if we look at one of the existing scales to just to understand how it works. So as I said, it's a separate worksheet for each scale or projection scale. And you have one here, it's the CPMB scale, which runs from year 2000 to year 2030. And you have that information here. What's important is to have the table from 2000 to 2030 in the horizontal in a row, and you have the years, which is the age 0 to 120 again. So, and then you fill with the actual rates. The yellow one are the one that were not available, so that I assume to be zero at the beginning and zero at the end. And you have a second table below for the female. And all these cells, if I go from my first cell, I would say top left corner to the right down corner. Okay, I have, so these are all the rates for the male. So these cells have been named ECH underscore CPM underscore B, which is the name of the projection scale, and I added one at the end for male. Note that for the mortality, I added Q1. Here I only add one. I should have been more consistent, but just don't make the mistake to add Q1. It's just one. And the same if we go to the range for the female. So that range is named ECH underscore CPM underscore B. And that's all there is to it. So what the information you have on top is just to uh, make it clearer. So some information on the projection scale, but it's not used by the add-in. And here I have some information just confirming. In fact, I'm referring to the cell in the previous worksheet, in the QX worksheet, to see it starts at year 2000 and it ends at year 2030. So going back to the new scale we would be creating, ECH MP 2020, I first add a worksheet that I name ECH underscore MP 2020. And if I go, it's from 1950 to 2030. So I would add 1950, 1951, that 2030, assuming it's okay. And my age 0 to 120, whatever. And then these would be filled with numbers. So I pick my range and I named a variable ECH MP 2020. And for male, I add one. For female, I would add two. I hope the explanation is clear, but that's the principle. I won't be saving that file, but normally you would have to do the same process as for the mortality table. You first save the file with a new name because it's a read on as it's written on top. It's a read only file, so you would have to save it under another name and go to your directory and rename the new file, remove the new or remove the whatever you. So rename the file OBankQX, and the former file must be renamed or deleted but personally I prefer to keep it just in case something goes wrong. So I have a backup file. But if something goes wrong, don't forget that with the Actuarial Excel Addin, with the add-in menu, you could go to update file and recover the version which is on the net. So that's all there is.